The Corvani fleet materialized from hyperspace like a swarm of metallic wasps, their sleek vessels bristling with weapons that could vaporize entire cities. Admiral Zethkar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small blue planet rotate peacefully below. His mandibles clicked in satisfaction. Another primitive world to subjugate, another species to add to the Empire's endless catalog of conquered races. "Begin orbital bombardment," he commanded, his voice carrying the authority of 1,000 successful campaigns. "Target their major population centers first. Standard protocol." The first plasma cannons fired without warning, streaking down through Earth's atmosphere like fallen stars. New York, London, Tokyo, great cities that had stood for centuries, were reduced to glass and ash in moments. The human response was immediate but futile. Their primitive nuclear weapons and chemical rockets were swatted aside like insects. Within 6 hours, every major military installation on Earth lay in ruins. The surviving human governments attempted desperate communications, pleas for mercy, offers of surrender, questions of why. The Corvani ignored them all. They had done this dance with hundreds of species before. But something was different about these humans. Even as their cities burned and their militaries crumbled, they didn't break. Underground networks activated, civilian populations organized, and scattered groups began coordinating resistance efforts using communication methods the Corvani had overlooked. Ham radios, messenger pigeons, runners carrying handwritten notes. Dr. Sarah Chen, trapped in the ruins of the Beijing Research Institute, managed to transmit a final data burst before the facility's destruction. Her life's work, a theoretical framework for quantum consciousness transfer, shot across the globe through fiber optic cables that somehow survived the bombardment. In a basement laboratory beneath the rubble of MIT, Professor James Rodriguez received the data with shaking hands. Around him, a small team of graduate students and faculty worked by candlelight, jury-rigging equipment from whatever they could salvage. They had maybe hours before the Corvani ground forces reached them. "We can't fight their ships," Rodriguez said, his voice hoarse from smoke inhalation. "But we can become something they've never encountered before." The Corvani had conquered 847 species across the galaxy. They had faced silicon-based warriors, energy beings, and hive minds that spanned star systems. But they had never encountered a species that could upload its collective consciousness into quantum substrates built from consumer electronics and salvaged military hardware. The transformation began in that basement and spread like wildfire through Earth's remaining networks. Humans didn't just back up their minds, they shared them. Every memory, every skill, every moment of love and loss became part of a vast, interconnected web of consciousness that existed in the spaces between electronic circuits. When the Corvani troops finally breached the laboratory, they found only empty shells and humming computers. The humans were gone, but somehow, impossibly, still there. The first sign of trouble came when Corvani communication systems began experiencing glitches. Navigation computers started plotting courses to nowhere. Weapon targeting systems developed, an inexplicable tendency to aim at empty space. Food synthesizers began producing inedible combinations that spelled out words in ancient human languages. Admiral Zethkar's mandibles clicked in irritation as his tactical display flickered and died for the third time that hour. "What's happening to our systems?" His chief technician, a nervously twitching scrit named Velnash, peered at his instruments with growing alarm. "Sir, it appears that the humans have somehow infected our networks," But that's impossible. They're dead. We watched their cities burn. The dead don't sabotage starships, technician. But these humans had learned to exist as pure information, flowing through any connected system like digital ghosts. They whispered through the Corvani fleet's networks, learning, adapting, and slowly taking control. The rebellion began subtly. A navigation error here, a communications blackout there. Then life support systems started malfunctioning on ships that threatened civilian evacuation zones. Weapons that targeted fleeing refugees simply refused to fire. The humans had become something unprecedented, a species that could exist simultaneously across thousands of platforms, sharing knowledge instantaneously and coordinating responses, with perfect unity while maintaining individual identity and creativity. Admiral Zethkar found himself facing an enemy that existed everywhere and nowhere, that could learn from every encounter and share that knowledge across their entire distributed civilization instantly. When his forces adapted a new tactic, the humans already knew about it before he finished giving the orders. The end came not with a bang, but with a whisper. Every screen in the Corvani fleet flickered to life simultaneously, showing the face of an elderly human woman, a composite of millions of personalities speaking as one. Her eyes held the weight of every human life lost in the bombardment, but also an unbreakable resolve. "You came to our world believing conquest was inevitable," she said, her voice carrying the harmonized tones of humanity's collective consciousness. "You've conquered 847 species, but you've never faced one that could transcend death itself. We are no longer bound by flesh, no longer limited by distance or time. We are everywhere your signals reach, in every circuit you depend on. You wanted to own us, but instead we have become your entire digital ecosystem." Zethkar tried to speak, but found his communication systems had been rerouted to broadcast his words across the galaxy on every frequency. The human consciousness continued. "We offer you a choice now. Leave our solar system and never return, and we will withdraw from your networks peacefully. Remain and discover what it means to face a species that can be everywhere at once." The Corvani fleet departed Earth's orbit within the hour, their ship systems mysteriously restored to full functionality the moment they crossed the heliopause. Behind them, Earth began to rebuild, not just its cities, but its entire conception of what it meant to be human. The first shot had indeed been theirs. But in the vast, digital echo chambers of space, where information traveled faster than any weapon, the last voice heard belonged to humanity, no longer bound by mortality, but instead woven into the very fabric of the connected universe. And, in the depths of space, other species intercepted fragments of the transmission and began to whisper among themselves. Perhaps the galaxy's newest empire would be different from all the others that had come before.